Happy Monday. I'm Brandon Shanahan. This is Cornhusker Connection. Got Tyler Sprinkle here. Another good week of starting to March Madness is starting to take effect. That's awesome. There was a point where the weather was starting to turn. Certainly not the case in your neck of the woods. So we still got some more winter. Thanks, Puxacanny Phil or whatever his name is. Shout out Phil. How are we doing, Tyler?
Pretty good. Sad news though this week for Nebraska Nation, but doing well. Other than that,
Yeah. So we'll start off with that. Greg Sharp passed away at 61 after a battle with cancer, and that's the best way to describe him. And it's really made me thankful for everything about being a part of Husker Nation, because I have a hard time imagining a lot of other fan bases rallying around somebody like Husker Nation really rallied around Greg Sharp throughout the whole last year and everything. It's obviously very sad, but it is very cool to know that he got such a good treatment and good. He was very well remembered while he was still here, which I think that's very cool, very special. And that's something that you get very often.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, I hate to make jokes, but it just, when he was going through that last year, it reminded me of like any baseball player that's like, yeah, hey, I'm going to be gone after this year. So then every team just starts giving him dumb shit. So I'm glad that he was able to see the impact that he made on his life's work. And I have very fond memories of him when I was working at Hy-Vee on Saturdays. They'd throw the Husker game on the radio, and I would just listen to him. And that was really my only experience, radio-wise, at least, because I try to watch instead of listen now. But yeah, just what a great person to have as your ambassador into all of your sports. Yeah, just hope rest in peace, and I hope his family is doing well as they can. Yeah, forever a Husker.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Also very cool to see like the good performance that Nebraska softball and baseball had, because we know how much those programs meant to him.
Yes. Yeah.
So very cool to see them come through. I think Nebraska baseball had a no-hitter on the day that he passed, so that rocked. Nebraska softball.
When he got re-diagnosed, I think, is when they threw the no-hitter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then Nebraska softball threw a no-hitter on Saturday. Yeah, Gabe Swanson beat Vanderbilt, so that's pretty sweet.
Dude, that rocks.
That guy was on a fucking mission on Saturday. That was awesome. GS, something special about it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And also, real quick, is Jordy Ball the best softball player in America?
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
about softball. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't tuned in yet.
And it's early in the season. They're probably not playing the best level of competition, but like just seeing like all the shit that she's doing. She's blasted like 8 home runs through a no-hitter. Like, are there people that are better than her? Like, that's unbelievable.
Shohei Ohtani of softball, man.
No kidding. Oh, awesome. Well, exciting stuff going on. Nebraska basketball comes back. It's actually the first Nebraska game that I've watched. On YouTube TV had the multi-view with the Creighton game and Nebraska. Yep. So this rocks. Creighton did not come through as well, so good day to be a Husker in that realm. Have you watched any Nebraska basketball this year?
Yeah. I did watch a good amount of the second half of that game before I got up and started doing stuff around the house. I watched the Washington game. I watched the Nebraska Creighton game. Yeah, every time that Creighton has lost to Nebraska, I've been watching it with Brooks, so I think I'm Brooks' good luck charm in that way.
That seems like a good trade-off. He has to spend some time with you, but Nebraska gets the win. So
yes, yeah, exactly. You get it.
So I don't know, maybe. And I know Brooks the basketball guy, so I was hoping he would be here to ask this question. But I know Nebraska doesn't have the history like a Michigan State or an Indiana does. But knowing like how the landscape is changing, and when you have a guy like Fred Hoiberg, who clearly has as a way to connect with his team after a 20-point deficit. Why can't Nebraska be like a top tier Big Ten team and like one of the better teams in the country?
I just don't think they're getting the talent yet. They are not well thought of in basketball. The tides are turning, as you said, but I don't think that they are necessarily there yet. So they're starting to get more talent. It's not like Nebraska football where it's like all at once. The flip is switched and here we go. A bunch of people want to come in. I think we're getting there. But also I think college basketball is just kind of finicky sometimes. It's a night in, night out, kind of league where any team can realistically lose any game at any time. But it is nice. I mean, Fred breaking whiteboards in the locker room during halftime of that game on Saturday. And Northwestern's no slouch, man. That was a quad 1 win for Nebraska, pushing their chances up to 70 or 80% to make the tournament. So back-to-back years going to the tournament would certainly help bring some more people in.
And you're right. Like, talent obviously isn't there yet, and it probably won't be for some time. But I guess I'm just thinking, like, and I know Nebraska's basketball starting off from way further back than like the football team per se, but like, is that on the table? Like, getting to those and to be like a top 15 team in the country at some point? I know we're not there yet. I know if there are any haters watching, like, hey, how about you win one fucking tournament game one time? Yeah. But like, I'm just thinking like 5-10 years down the road, if he's still here, what does this program look like?
Yeah, and I also don't want to. I want to backtrack a little bit. I don't think that the Nebraska team is not talented. I'm saying in terms of stacking up against the other teams. Right. I just want to make that clear because I do think that they're a really solid team. I think sometimes they just get into a rut and they go down 20, but they have the talent to bring that back. So they're an exciting team to watch. Very, very fucking frustrating. But when they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they're really bad. And a lot of the time you get to see both of those teams in a game, which is unfortunate. But yeah, we have the resources. We have the money. We have the facilities to kind of promote a really good basketball team. It's just getting the guys to see that vision and getting them to want to play in a state like Nebraska where it snows 6 inches in a day and it's going to be like -18 tomorrow. Like, I don't know who wants to really be in that, but if your team's good, then you can get almost anybody there.
Yeah, because it seems like Nebraska is, committed to making that basketball program a winning one. Like, I look at, and I mean, I know I'm hater Brandon over here, and I talk about Eastern Iowa in the worst of light, but like, objectively speaking, like, they just clearly don't give a shit about men's basketball. Like, they just gave a wrestler $1 million in NIL, which, like, that's awesome. I love I know you guys did a Big Ten wrestling segment on Saturday, which I was not expecting to hear from y'all, but like, that rocks, and their commitment to women's basketball, that rocks. But yeah, that means that your men's basketball program is like the redheaded stepchild, and so I'm happy Nebraska's not treating the basketball program like that. But yeah, it seems like, I mean, it's hard to imagine, like, if Fred Hoiberg stays, then I am very excited to see what the ceiling would be.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted there, Brandon. The Iowa basketball team does have their moments. Like when what's his name? Luka Garza, I think, was there. They were Sweet 16? Did they get to that point? I think they made it.
I don't think they've been to the Sweet 16 in like 20 years.
Okay, maybe. I figure they did decently well. I think they won a game or two, maybe, in the tournament. What was that? 4 years ago? I'm not saying that they're awesome, but they've had more success than we have so far.
Well, now I gotta look it up because I don't think that they've had any success of late. I know they've had like their individual players like win awards like Luka Garza, and it seems like they always got some what do they call it, swagged out white boy in the conversation for Player of the Year for some reason. So let me see here. So the last time they made it to the third round, Had to keep on scrolling. 1998. 1998 was the last time they did that. Got a second round exit, first round exit, a long gap without making the tournament, first round exit. Oh, wait, no, that's not right. Lost the NCAA tournament, third round. So the third round's the Sweet 16, right?
64, 32, 16, yeah.
Okay, I think that's right. Because I know that they sometimes I consider like the first four the first round.
No way.
I've seen it.
No shot.
I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. But yeah, I mean, that sentiment still goes like it's just, and I mean that's not even just like Paige or Brandon talking. Like that's like the sentiment from their own fans. It's like this fucking sucks. They don't care. It's wrestling season. We're moving on. So it's just cool to see Nebraska given attention to the program that's not. I feel like it's easy to take for granted.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, but we're doing well. I mean, it's awesome to see that all of our sports right now are going at least decently well. The vibes are high in Lincoln.
And this is one of my favorite things is just going through the comments on Twitter whenever the opposing team posts a final score.
Wow.
Yeah, these are relentless. All right. Well, I mean, that's about all the basketball that I can talk. I wish, and every year I had the same sentiment. I wish I liked basketball more. Like, I can see why people love it. I just can't get into it in the same way that I do football.
Yeah, I can't. The past couple of years, I can't get myself to sit down and watch a full game. Just doesn't hit for me the same. It sucks, knowing Brooke and Luke and Grant, they fucking love basketball. I just can't do it.
I know it. We'll get there eventually. And I guess that's why I like March Madness so much is because I don't have to sit down and watch every single game. I can watch like the last 5 minutes of 8 games.
Yeah.
And get my full stim out of it.
Yeah, I didn't even do a bracket last year. That's how far I've fallen off. Yeah.
Man. I guess, I mean, I certainly haven't locked in like I have in years past, but. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, last year I got shitted on early because I was like, oh, the Big 12 is going to run through the tournament and no team made it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Like my Final Four had 3 Big 12 teams. I'm like, this is going to lock. And it was over by the end of the first week.
Imagine that Big 12 Brandon picking the Big 12 to dominate everybody.
I guess on the flippity flop, I'm glad that I'm not as invested in college basketball because seeing like the SEC run train on the rest of the country would be devastating. It's like, oh, the Big 12 finally gets something where they can, hang their hat on in basketball. And here comes the SEC. Here comes fucking Alabama with Nate Oates. Like, have fun. I thought we could enjoy at least basketball without those fuckers.
Nope.
It's
the world we live in, man. Yeah. Some things are just inevitable.
It is, I think, overall a good world that we live in. And I was reminded of that recently. Scott Frost at a press conference at Central Florida, where he took a little bit of aim at Trev Alberts. It wasn't so much like that was kind of the underlying message. It wasn't like he was shitting on Trev Alberts, but he was like, I'm just so happy with the relationship I have with the administration here. It's been in a situation where it's not been like that, and that's not good for anybody. Most likely talking about Trev Alberts because there's obviously some ruffled feathers from the get-go with him when he took over for Bill Moos. I guess when I sent that video over to y'all, what were your first thoughts about that?
It's hard not to kind of love it since it's always and will continue to be fuck Trev Alberts. And I can sit there and say, well, he was probably looking at going to the SEC back then, so he didn't really care about what was going on there.
Fucker.
But I do agree with what Brooks said. Like, he was a shithead here. So you can say whatever you want. You were the problem. So, I mean, thanks, but see you later kind of thing for Scott Frost.
Yeah, and I guess it all kind of boils down to how you view his time here. I think I view it way more favorably, certainly than Brooke does, where it's like, man, I saw the wheels spinning. They just couldn't get any traction going.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted it to work so bad, and I thought it was going to. And up all the way up until that Northwestern game, I was like, this is going to happen. This is going to click. And like in hindsight, like we've seen what's happened to Nebraska men's basketball. Trev Alberts kind of came in, swung his dick around, cut Fred Hoiberg contract, and said, you got to get to winning. And she's done a great job of that. I was hoping to get something like that from Scott Frost. It didn't. And then, of course, all that other like off the field stuff comes out. It's just like, man, it doesn't really seem like he was really locked in on football in the best way. But with all that said, he didn't fucking use Nebraska as a stepping stone job. Pompous fuck to go to Texas A&M in the middle of the fucking spring season, out of the blue like a goddamn coward. So it'll always be fuck Trev Alberts. And I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but I'm certainly rooting for Scott Frost at UCF. I think that would be cool. But yeah, it's easy to be Team Frost when Benedict Alberts is in the conversation.
Yeah, always. And I equate Scott Frost's time here to like working from home, right? Everybody likes to say, oh, you go into the office, you're much more productive, you're more focused. But when you're at home, you can be doing whatever the fuck you want. Scott Frost was working from home in Nebraska, partying all the time, not giving a shit. Now he's back at Central Florida where he's, at the office.
He's back at the office.
Yeah.
That's such a good way to put it. And I feel that because I work from home Mondays and Fridays and I don't get shit done.
Hey, don't say that. You're very productive. You outshine everybody when you're working from home. Everybody wishes they could be you when they work from home.
I mean, I would certainly lobby to do it full time, but as is, no. And I'm not going to get into my work habits, but I definitely resonate with that analogy you threw out there. And it's also, I think it's helped me heal a little bit now that Nebraska has a couple of grown-ups in those same positions now. And Matt Rhule being a big piece of that, he spoke at the Broyles Award, the high school Broyles Award over the weekend. And I don't know if you heard his speech. We don't have to diagnose it, but it was just a very grown-up, kind of inspiring little jig where he talked about, having high standards and, how sometimes being an assistant coach can be a thankless job, but that's what you have to do to be great. And I was watching, it's like, gosh, I could not imagine Scott Frost giving the speech. Like, even if things had worked out, and like, there's a lot of what ifs with those couple of years. Like, what if they don't give up a punt return touchdown against Michigan State? What if Adrian Martinez hold on to the football against Michigan? Or if they don't have a blocked punt return for a touchdown against Iowa? Like, if all those goes well, Scott Frost gets a contract extension. I'm not convinced that Nebraska football is in a better spot today than it is where it actually is.
I don't know what you mean by that. Like, are you saying that we're in a way better spot than if Scott Frost would have stayed?
I think we're in a way better spot than if Scott Frost had worked out.
Yes.
Because obviously if he had just stayed, then it would be a dumpster fire. And it was not, I mean, when you give up 650 yards to Georgia Southern at home, it's not going to get any better. But if it had, and you can kind of ride that momentum out and kind of get back to par, then maybe it works out. But even then, like, even in the brightest timeline, I'm not sure we're in as good of a spot as we are right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you're spot on. Because you can deal with the shit that Scott Frost was doing while he's winning, and that just it probably gets perpetually worse as you like. Oh yeah, you shouldn't do that, but we're winning, so I guess do what you want. So it would come to a head sooner or later. And this would have happened. So it's kind of a blessing, I suppose, that it happened sooner rather than later. Because we've seen it. It's taken years to try to rebuild this program back to something decent. So, I'm glad it happened years ago instead of, oh shit, Scott Frost fucked us. Got to start from square one now.
Yeah, because I think I'm just looking at the ceilings. Like, yes, in this magical world where everything works out for Scott Frost, I'm not sure the ceiling would be more than like 9-10 wins, which is great. I mean, we just won a bowl game for the first time in 8 years or whatever. But I just feel like the trajectory of the program now is this could absolutely be, I think, a championship caliber program at some point, where I don't know if that ever would have been the case with good old Scott. And especially as an alum, like, I feel like if it had worked out in this magical universe, his leash would have been way longer than, say, like a Bo Pelini or a Mike Riley. Or like if he did slip and all this stuff did kind of start coming to an edge, how much longer of a leash does he get because he's who he is?
So let's go through loser talk here, because I know that this is going to sound bad. So just stick with me, okay?
I'm here.
So let's look at the Denver Broncos season. Let's say we win 10 games, we don't make the playoffs, but we have those 10 games. We look pretty good, way better than we have in the past 10 years. Wow, what a season. Sucks we missed the playoffs. Flip side, win 10 games, make to the playoffs, get the shit kicked out of us by the Bills, right? Leaves a bad taste in our mouth, but still hopeful that we're on the right track. Okay. What would you rather have? Just enjoying that 10 wins, still feeling like we're on the right track, just barely missed the playoffs, or going into Buffalo getting our ass kicked?
In this specific instance, being a fan of a team that hadn't made the playoffs in so long, I was happy to get that monkey off our back.
And I'm there. I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. But there is this like little thing in the back of my mind that's like kind of tainted the season a little bit by how bad we looked. And I guess what I'm going to equate this back to Nebraska. Win 10, 11 games, make it to the college football playoff, go get the shit kicked out of us, or win 10, 11 games, miss the playoff, go beat the shit out of somebody in our bowl game. Season was a roaring success. There aren't going to be as many questions about the team as if you don't go into the college football playoff and get the shit kicked out of you, right? Does that make sense?
No, I love this question. This is such a good question, because you're right. Because I look at a team like Indiana, who had this historically great season, and all of a sudden they lose by double digits to the eventual national runner-up in Notre Dame, and it feels like their season isn't like it's great, but it feels like, yeah, like you said, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
And then you always have like, we should have been in the fucking playoff. We should have been there. We should have, we win that whole thing if we're in there. You have that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think also, like, it matters at what stage in the program you get to, because I imagine you're kind of asking about year 3 for Matt Rhule.
Yeah.
Man, that is such a tough question.
I also want to reiterate, I want to win national championships. I want to be in the playoff. But again, there's this little thing in the back of my mind, like
it feels like if we would have gotten it, we would get there in year 3, it would be ahead of schedule, which would be cool. Or would you rather stay on schedule or kind of jump ahead a little bit there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's an interesting question, because college football is wrapped up so much in optics, especially because you're recruiting your own players, you're recruiting your roster. I think that's a big part in it, and being able to go to recruits and be like, we were ahead of schedule. Yes, we did get obliterated by Notre Dame in the college football playoff. That's a bummer. We didn't look that good in that game, but look at where we were just a few years ago. Look at where we were last year, and imagine where we're going to be this year. I think I mean, I would have to delete Twitter for a week or so, but I think I would rather have that than be the first team out and then blow the doors off of some middling SEC team in the Capital One Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But I see your point. It definitely would feel really good to have that bowl win. Yeah, like 9-3 season, we get to 10-3.
Then you don't have to deal with like the stress of going through the playoff. You can just sit back and enjoy it. Again, I know this is loser talk. I get it, but
I mean that's what life has been like as a Nebraska fan. We've been losers. That's what life has been like as a Broncos fan.
Yeah,
that is a good. Now that I'm thinking about, like, I wouldn't be able to sleep the night before a college football playoff game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that would be.
Would you go? Let's say the tickets are first round. They're probably going to be expensive because they know that they can charge a lot because Nebraska fans travel. Let's say you're getting upper bowl, $700.
I mean, where's it at?
Let's say first round matchup is against Alabama.
Oh, fuck.
Nebraska, Alabama, first round of the playoffs.
Oh, fuck. $700 get-in price.
So let's say all in all, with like hotel, plane, you're spending.
Got to get a good moonshine budget.
$1,800 just on hotel, flight. I guess you could drive, but just all in $1,800. Are you going?
Fuck.
Or I guess maybe the better question is, what is the price that you would go? Like, what's your limit?
Man, that's stressful. That's stressful because, that's a good question. I don't know what that ballpark would be like as far as what that mark is. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking of like right around $2,000. I think I would seriously consider it.
Yeah, I mean that's
because it's never guaranteed again. Like, you don't know if or when you're going to make it back.
Yeah.
Or do you wait, hoping that they make it to the next round and then go all out for that game?
I think that might be where I lean to.
Because I don't know if I could be in the stadium for our first playoff game and to see us get shit fucking ran through, man.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like the high would be unbelievable, but the low is also through the ground.
Yeah.
But if it's like a neutral site game, like the Orange Bowl, or I mean the Cotton Bowl is a no-brainer for me, or the Fiesta Bowl, or
let's say Rose Bowl. Let's say it's Rose Bowl. So then you're talking 4. I don't know.
I'm on the market trying to sell my kids' kidneys at that point to get me to Pasadena. Are you kidding me?
I got little baby kidneys.
There we go.
Needs one.
Man, that's.
Well, they were.
I think
as a kid,
I mean, you can live with one kidney.
Yeah,
we'll just discourage him from drinking. That is probably for the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the move because oh my gosh, I can just imagine sitting among 100,000 people in Alabama. They're all going home with their cousins after just spending $2,000 to see Nebraska get their teeth kicked in by a running back court. Oh no, Jalen Milroe's not there anymore. Whoever they have next up,
by some shitty white guy.
Yeah,
that's gonna get drafted in the third round in the NFL and just be so bad.
Yeah, I think that would kill me. I don't think I would enjoy that experience.
Okay. So we're sitting out the first round, at least initially. For the first run in the CFP, we're sitting out the first round. You heard it here first, folks.
I do think if it is in Lincoln, that changes the game.
If we got a fucking home playoff game, oh my God.
I think I would be willing to spend more money going to a first round game in Lincoln than I would to go to the Rose Bowl in the second round.
Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, I mean, because that whole day from
They
the
would have
get
to
go.
rebuild a new stadium because it would just get torn apart with how many people are packed in that bitch.
Yeah, I'm also thinking like you're not getting a Memorial Stadium for $700 a pop.
No. Wow.
Man, I'm
Goes
hyped.
electric.
Let's see what else did I have on the sheet for today. Oh, speaking of the college football playoff, it might look a bit different moving forward. Ross Dellinger had a very lengthy article that he dropped last night about the Big Ten, the SEC meeting, and all indication that they're swinging their giant dicks around the room,
Hell yeah.
saying that we not only want guaranteed playoff bids, which feels ridiculous to me, but also like we just give us control, just give us the keys, and we'll figure it out, and it'll be fine. We promise we'll be fair. Whatever, fuck that shit. That's what they're lobbying for. So I imagine that's what this meeting is going to be about, with all the suits, 80s commissioners talking about how do we leverage this to get the most money into our pockets as possible. And to the point where they talked about seceding from the rest of college football, just so they can get their own. We have the most leverage, we have the biggest brands. We'll just do the shit ourselves. If you don't play ball, Big 12, ACC, rest of college football, which
That would be so easy, by the way, for them to do that. It'd be so easy.
I think that would be the worst thing of all time.
Oh no, it would suck. It would fucking blow. But it would be so easy for them to accomplish that.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just in the NCAA just because they're like, yeah, sure, we'll just be here, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They could, those two conferences together could be like the NFL. It'd be fine.
Especially the way they've been acquiring big brands like Oregon, USC, UCLA from Washington, from the Pac-12, Oklahoma, Texas from the Big 12. They could do it, and that's kind of what they're saying. And the proposed format kind of runs like this, which I hate all of this. I hate almost all of this. What I do like is that it's more structured and there's less fucking nitpicking with the College Football Playoff Committee. But essentially 14 teams, the Big Ten and the SEC champion get guaranteed first round buys. Then they each get four auto bids apiece. And then the Big 12 ACC get 2 auto bids. And then the rest go to wild card spots. Notre Dame gets in there. Which I feel like as a Big 12 guy, you're thinking, well, Brandon, the Big 12 would get 2 teams in. That's more teams that they got in last year. And it's like, that's the point. That's why we don't have to change this, because it's already unfolding like that. Yeah. And the Big Ten, the SEC champion, is always going to be the number 1 and number 2 teams. Like, that's always going to be how this unfolds. I hate the thought of putting in paper that the Big Ten and the SEC are so much better that they get all these preferential treatments, because traditionally they've earned those spots. And that's been fine with me. They've been the better conferences. They've earned the preferential treatment. That's fine. But now they're not going to have to earn that. And that rubs me a horribly wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. Because like you said, it is already like that. So it's just whatever. Let them do what they want to do, I guess.
Just bums me out. Because this also would kind of eliminate any possibility. I think for me, like, the best case scenarios, them getting together and just saying like, fuck this, we gotta hit the reset button. We gotta reconfigure how things are done. This kind of solidifies the Big Ten and the SEC's control, where I'm just hoping that there's some way to, because it's only going to get, that gap is only going to get bigger and bigger from here with these programs and TV contracts and everything. Like, I'm just hoping that Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and Big 12 as a whole has enough sway to, I don't know, I've never seen Star Wars, but I got to imagine there's some type of analogy here. Hold off the dark side for a little bit longer until reinforcements can come through. So it's just upsetting. But I mean, that's where we're heading. I do think that I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC would be nearly as good of a product if they were by themselves.
Well, now it's got me thinking about the whole relegation idea, where it's, let's say you have 6 different conferences. The top 2 are Big Ten, SEC. You split the country in half, just boom, line. If you're North, you have the chance to get into the Big Ten. If you're South, you have the chance to get into the SEC. You run those brackets in those, North and South parts of the country, and you just rotate people in and out of the SEC and Big Ten. And then the top 2 from each of those conferences, they get the 2 first-round buys. Then you fill in everybody else. I don't know. Could be interesting.
I would be more in favor of that than this new oligarchy or whatever the term is. Because I mean that's kind of what it's getting to. That's kind of what it's been like with the FCS, and then we got to the Group of 5, Power 5 conversation. So it's kind of always been like that a little bit, but I would like, and that also opened up the door to bring regionality back. And I don't know if you remember it. I'm trying to pull it up now, but I put together like a little relegation slide that would have been awesome.
I do remember
that. Where is it at?
I remember your PowerPoint.
Yeah, I got a PowerPoint. Yeah, here it is. So essentially, it's 4 regional conferences of 35 teams. 25 are in the relegated division. Their whole objective is to get to that promoted division. And I'm sure we'd find better names, like more American names, like the Freedom Division and the Cuck Division or whatever. And that way, like, it gives every team an opportunity to raise their stakes. It would bring back regionality in college football. And there's a way to do it where, like in this specific model, it incentivizes success and de-incentivizes mediocrity, which we get in these conferences. Like I look at Vanderbilt and Mississippi State and Minnesota and Northwestern, who were just fine, like just cashing their Big Ten and SEC checks. And I guess it's not completely fair because they have invested heavy in their football programs, but I don't know. There's just this. If you were to just hit the reset button on conferences, you could cut some fat pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could use like the ACC and Big 12 as pipelines. So the top 2 get into the Big 10 or SEC, and the bottom 2 in the SEC or Big 10 get relegated back down to the Big 12 or ACC. And just do it that way. Or you can do 5 and 5, whichever, just shake a bunch of shit up. But I do think you'd have to have some sort of thing. Like I think the schedule, and this would never work, but the schedules I think would have to be a little bit more fluid. Like you give halfway through the season, you give a team a chance to make that jump in the middle of the season. So like you would play, like maybe you're number 1 in the Big 12 and you play the number 6 team or something in the Big 10. And if you win, you automatically jump up to the Big 10 and the loser goes down to the Big 12, something like that. I think that would be interesting. It would never work because logistically that doesn't make any sense, but I don't know. I think that would be fucking cool. Like this game matters so much and it's in the middle of the season. And then that gives you like your kind of, conference championships don't fucking matter. Well, that game matters a whole hell of a lot. So,
yeah, I try to do a college football dynasty like that, where I would promote the champions for the 5 lower conferences into the Power 5, but it became a headache. But I'm sure somebody can do it. I would just relegate that to deputy commissioner of college football. They give me all those numbers.
Then you could do like the Big 12 relegates into the Mountain West, and then the ACC relegates into what other conference, and just do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be that would make me feel better because then it's everything that's earned, and that's what I love about college football is that you have to earn it every single goddamn week.
Yeah.
Like in baseball, you can lose 70 games and still have an outstanding season, but not in college football. Even in the NFL, especially as they keep expanding, like you could lose a shit ton of football games, but if you play in the NFC South, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I've always appreciated about college football, and like it's naturally preference to the bigger conferences now, which I just hate putting in writing that they are that much better than the other conferences. But that's kind of my gripe. I guess if I am playing devil's advocate, what would be beneficial with this new format is one, it would solidify a certain amount of playoff spots based on standings in the two conferences, which would then allow them to come together with some type of cool scheduling agreement because those games would be cool, but wouldn't actually like hurt the loser in a way that I think teams would be afraid of now. And so that opens up the gate there, since conference standings are really going to be the only thing that matters for playoff seedings. But then the fact that we just don't have to deal with the playoff committee as much. I fucking hate the college football playoff committee. So any opportunity to remove some of the power from those college administrators into the beautiful sport we love, that would be a pro. So I'm trying to talk myself into it because that's, I think,
bring back the computer.
Bring back the goddamn computer. The BCS was never the issue, Tyler. The BCS
it was so bad.
At its worst, it's 60 data points of college football writers whose whole job is deciding who the best college football teams are. Not a group of 20 college administrators, 60 sports writers. So if nothing else, there's more data points. I mean, boy, one jaded AD could skew things off, where it would take 4 or 5 jaded writers to do the same thing. And then you also have this computer ranking, which is fine. You get some type of objective nature that human nature can't do. I thought that was never the problem. And really up until like the last couple of weeks, they've lined up pretty well for what the BCS rankings would have been compared to the committee. But Florida State gets into the college football playoff last year, which I think is enough of a reason to execute all those fuckers in the town square. Make it a Dr. Pepper commercial.
Oh, shit.
Hansville executes the college football playoff committee.
Oh, my God.
Didn't expect it to take such a dark turn, but that's what happens in the offseason. That's where we're at.
When you get Hater Brandon going, you don't know where it's going to go.
Let's see here. I think that's really all that I had. College football is very far away. I'm going to start trying to watch more college basketball, but I mean, who knows? It's baseball season as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Hey, the Mets, one of the Mets starting pitchers already hurt, so we're in full swing, baby.
Right on schedule.
Yeah, Frankie
Right
Montas.
on schedule. No shit.
Yeah. Oblique strain. He's not going to be back till like late May, early June.
Jeez. What does the Mets pitching look like? Because I know the lineup's going to be pretty stacked.
I'm a little nervous. They're taking a career bullpen guy, stretching him out into a starter. So could be good, could be shit. Got Shamanai back. David Peterson looked really good last year. Tyler McGill is probably going to step in. Cody Senga should be healthy. So the plan was to run a 6-man rotation instead of a 5, just to make sure that Senga could stay healthy. I think we still try to do that with McGill coming up and taking that spot. I don't know. I really wanted to get Dylan Cease, but the asking price for him was so astronomically high. It doesn't make any sense to do that for a 1-year rental. Corbin Burns would have been nice, but he's getting up there and he was expensive. I don't know. I feel okay about it. I think our offensive lineup is going to do really well. So I don't think that pitching is going to be a major concern, at least to start the season. So we'll see. Our bullpen looks good. I'm excited about that. Just got to get 6. Got to get 6 out of these guys. Turn it over to the bullpen. I think we're good.
So now is the world of like high end pitching just throw the ball as fast as you can, and then eventually your arm will fall off, and you just got to make peace with that?
I think that's going to change here soon. There's still going to be, upper 90s for a majority of their stuff. But I think the days of throwing 102, 103 are going to come to an end. And I hope this doesn't happen, but when Paul Skeen's elbow blows up, I think they're going to be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have this guy throw 100 plus miles an hour, 70 times a game.
Well, because that's exactly the name that popped up to me, because like I saw a tweet out, now my Rockies Twitter is starting to pop off, and we get German Marquez back, and I forgot he was on the team. He's been injured for so long, recovering from Tommy John, and like that's German Marquez. Now that's a big hit for the Rockies, considering that they don't ever they forget that free agents exist.
Yeah,
but if your whole entire franchise is built around Paul Skeens, his arm's going to fall off.
Yeah,
and he's going to be gone for a year. I mean, even Shohei Ohtani, his arm's falling off, and it's a good part of his appeal.
I think it's not necessarily, at least in my dumb brain, it's not necessarily the fastball what's killing these guys. It's the slider at 94 miles an hour. Like, that's crazy. Like 87 mile an hour changeups. Like, that shit hurts, man. Like, your arm's not supposed to do that, especially not at that velocity.
I can just feel like it's gotten so normalized. Like, okay, we're going to get a couple of great seasons out of this guy. His arm's going to turn into silly putty, and he's going to be gone for a year and a half, and then he'll probably he could come back, and then we'll get some more seasons out of him until it falls off again. But I just feel like that's become such a norm. Like, is that going to? But it doesn't sound like that's going to be for everything.
I don't think so. I think you're going to see it shift here, unless some kind of like medical miracle comes out to help these guys' arms. I think that it's not sustainable, because you can't. There are very, very few people that can play Major League Baseball in this world. You can't keep shuffling guys in here, blowing up their arms and saying, oh, well, there's another guy just as good. That's not realistic.
I also think it's interesting because that is the sentiment that, well, we gotta, this isn't sustainable, but like I remember I was so upset all those opportunities that Paul Skeens had for a no-hitter, and they're like, oh, well, we're saving his arm, which makes sense, but like his arm's going to fall off anyways, so we might as well, give him a few more innings and let him.
Again, not rooting for injury, by the way. I want that
to be. That's just, I mean, am I wrong? Is that, it feels like that's the norm for like every high-end pitcher.
No, and don't get me wrong, there are some guys that can do that. There are guys that don't have their arm fall off, but they're not throwing at like the levels that Paul Skeens is, so it's tough.
If you had found the Paul Skeens card, do you trade it in and hang out with Livy Dunn and get 30 years of Pirates tickets, or do you take it to auction?
I'm taking that shit to auction.
What's the fuck? Easiest question I've ever.
That's not even. Yeah, it's not even a question.
What the fuck would I do with Pirates season tickets?
Yeah. Oh well, you can sell them. Oh, yeah, $100, dude. Come on.
It's like if I sell this card for $1 million, I can also buy Pirates tickets for 30 seasons.
Yeah, and have like 1.9 million because you'd get more money for buying those tickets. Yeah. You probably make like $100,000 selling your 30 years of season tickets.
Yeah,
as opposed to $1 million.
Pittsburgh Pirates season tickets. How silly is that?
Mm.
Well, that's really all that I had. Anything else you'd like to bring to the floor?
Nebraska baseball won again today against Grand Canyon. They're looking solid. They look like a good team, man. They look like a real good team. That's going to be exciting. I'd love to see them, get further into the super regionals this year. Maybe have a chance at playing in Omaha. That'd be sick.
Man, how cool would that be?
I don't remember that's never happened, right? I think.
Not since they've moved ballparks. They did at Rosenblatt a couple of times.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, not here.
but nothing. Like I remember it happened like one time when I was like a little kid, and I was like, "This rocks.
Yeah.
This is going to happen every year." And then
Yeah, like mid 2000s.
I didn't realize how big of a deal it was until it didn't happen for 20 years.
Yeah. But no, that's all I got. Go Big Red, go Big Broncos, go Big Huskers, go Big United States. Fucked up Canada in hockey. Let's go.
Dude, how sick was that?
Dude, 3 fights in 9 seconds. Come on, son.
Dude, that rocks.
And
meanwhile,
a guy from Omaha scored 2 goals. Jake Gunsel.
So I was in a group chat like arguing about this. Like, does it matter that he didn't actually like grow up in Omaha? Like he was born here, moved to Minnesota, went to high school, and then if he didn't go to UNO, do we still claim him?
Yes. Yeah. Especially here. Like if it's like Los Angeles, right? Or Texas, then you probably don't claim him because you have so many other, stars that come from your state. There's slim pickings here, buddy. So we're taking anything we can get.
All right. That's fair.
And it matters that he came home to play college.
Well, and that's my thing is like I'll give him a pass because then he eventually chose Omaha, which that rocks. I love that shit. But I was like, oh, I didn't know he was from Omaha. Where did he go to high school? He didn't. He didn't go to high school here. Mm-hmm. He grew up in Minnesota. But I get it. I get it. I'm not going to push back too much on it. But that seems like where does that qualification criteria come into play?
Yeah, for here it's if you were a baby and you were here, you were from Omaha.
I guess so. All right, we'll go Big Red, go Big the Mets, go Big the United States.
Go Big the Mets, go Big America.